the government of Karnataka, obviously with the IT hub that Karnataka is, wants to be a front runner in using blockchain for the public good.
Mr. Priyank Kharge has been the inspiration for this. He has been leading from the front on a number of new initiatives that we have taken, and Karnataka, you will definitely find great number of initiatives. We are very happy to find international experts who have chosen to come here, responding to our request, and they will talk about how blockchain can be used in government, it can be used in industry. Beside participating in this blockchain conference, we'll also be taking up training of 5,000 people in cutting edge technologies to youth. And this will be taken up in collaboration with the NASCOM Foundation and the government of Karnataka.
If government is taking those initiatives and really looking forward in leveraging those aspects, I think it's not just the corporate, and then if the government starts also doing in the right way, I think we are in the right path of leveraging those disruptive technologies which will change our life.
Here we are today at the threshold of what could be history to identify opportunities and challenges for the use of blockchain technology in governance. So when we had this 2-day, 3-day hackathon, we actually found that most of them could be used. And I was very surprised at the quality of the coders that we found. I can ensure that the technology is incubated and we given a conducive environment for innovations and inventions. Otherwise, I can just probably have another hackathon. And if the use cases are good enough, I can use it in government, which is of course the biggest data provider or the data creator. The idea is to ensure that the government of Karnataka collaborates more with the private sector. We understand emerging technologies better to ensure that we build a bolder, better and a more innovative Karnataka so that we remain the creative and disruptive leaders across the globe, not just lead India to the next century. So I'm sure that this conclave over here is a step towards that.
I would like to thank our Honorable Minister for IT, BT and Tourism, Shri Priyank Kharge. Thank you so much, sir, for being the visionary that you are and also leading the Karnataka government and putting us in a place where we are foremost in the disruptive technology space today.
The financial sector is the most disrupted sector by blockchain technology. And we are very honored today to have some of the best minds of our country here today to discuss this topic in depth. And I'll waste no more time introducing and welcoming these panelists on stage.
One of the things that caught my attention about a year ago was this idea that blockchain is not a technology, it's a new philosophy, right? And to really understand blockchain, somebody said it very eloquently, it's like a 400-level graduate course where the prerequisites are economics, game theory, computer science, cryptography, mathematics, and so on. So there is so much that you need to understand. And it's challenging our notions, right, of institutions to the extent that people wonder, do you need banks, right? Do you need the government involved in so many things that it is involved in today? Can supply chains work without central intermediaries and so on and so forth? One of the things that we keep hearing again and again is blockchain is good, cryptocurrencies are bad, right? The government is very open to blockchain, but this cryptocurrency nonsense, no.
So if we're looking at decentralized blockchains, there is no way that anybody can really govern these contracts or control these contracts. Now, can we run a blockchain without a cryptocurrency? So each of those transactions needs a small, tiny little economic charge or a factor so that I don't abuse that system. You cannot control these things. These are decentralized objects. These are blockchains. And that is pretty much where I think everybody is getting it wrong, that you can separate these two technologies and kind of get away with it.
There are today probably about over 1,000 different cryptocurrencies, right? And different cryptocurrencies have different applications. So there are some which are used as a store of value, maybe arguably Bitcoin is one of those. There are some which are used for payments and settlements. There are some which have an inherent utility, a utility on a blockchain or of the like. I think need to create regulation ground up to classify and to appreciate different use cases of cryptocurrencies and regulate them uniquely.
Everybody is talking about bitcoins, everybody is talking about blockchain, cryptocurrencies. So what do we do as a bank? But we call the major Indian banks for lunch, for a VIP lunch. They like the lunch, we like the lunch. And we said that let's shed our ecosystem as bankers. Let's work in our ecosystem. Make sure that we use blockchain, which is a hype emerging tech. We use it for bankable solutions. And we realized that what we did is right, because a lot of the independent research organizations like Gartner and a whole lot of, they say that by 2030, traditional banking services will cease to exist. And what do banks do? Banks like us, we collect money, we move money, we lend money, we secure money, we protect money. All these services can be built by blockchain. And we don't necessarily have to use the Bitcoin piece of it and the cryptocurrency piece of it. The tokenization can be used for settlement without using a cryptocurrency. So my view is for an emerging country like India, where the focus is on financial inclusion, is to use technologies which can really help our mainstream public, right? I think that's what probably our approach is, and that's what we are going to focus on in the coming years.
We are honored today to have representatives from some of these leading countries speaking about the applications of blockchain in their countries. Marloes is the blockchain program officer of the Dutch government. She has herself initiated over 36 pilots of blockchain applications in the Netherlands. Mr. Sakre Irikat, he is blockchain evangelist with IBM Dubai, and IBM, as we know, is a core partner in Dubai's blockchain story. From the Indian perspective, we welcome Mr. Alek Sharan of the Niti Aayog. And I finally welcome the chair of our panel, Mr. Guru Maladi, senior partner at Ernst & Young, and he leads the firm's efforts on emerging technologies.
Although I've been dealing with this for 2.5 years, people try to introduce me as a blockchain expert. I vehemently reject being called a blockchain expert, because the only thing that I see when reading more about this is that anything I knew can be thrown out within weeks, without exaggeration. If you don't read into this more and more and more and continuously, then you're going to miss the next bus. So sometimes if I don't read for a week, I find myself not caught up to the things. So yes, I like the concept of blockchain, and I don't believe I'm a blockchain expert. Now the concept of blockchain, I like it because it goes to the foundation of what we speak about, right? Because blockchain and its key concepts is just taking us back to the absolute basics of trade, the basics of transactions.
At the government itself, we start with a certain use case, then we build new teams. We built a team with blockchain experts and the people from the government. So we don't think the government should only be an enabler and give money to the IT people or to the startups. Every project I built a new team with people of the government and the blockchain experts. And then we try to figure out how will blockchain change the process. We built a new coalition of companies and governmental organizations who are willing to invest in the next phase. So that takes a lot of time because they have to work together, and after that we build prototypes and we test it in real life.
Think of it as building a city, right? When you're building the trunk infrastructure for a city, the sewers, the roads, there really isn't any ROI on that, right? So I think initially to create that layer, our ideas of government can create that shared infrastructure layer initially, on which others can then come in and then build models under PPP where they also have an incentive for doing so. I think that's the way the ecosystem can slowly be built up.
In the last, at least 5 to 10 years, if we were to go back to the whole e-governance history and various other projects that we have done in India, we have been able to successfully take the pilots that have been tried in countries like this, and we have adopted and we've made those technologies that are ours. And I think we figured that out. I'm fairly confident on that.
Will blockchain be one of those technologies or not? I think is an endeavor that all of us are moving towards.
This panel is going to look at the softer impacts of blockchain. So what does blockchain mean for transparency of systems? What does blockchain mean for a citizen having ownership to his own information? For the security of systems? What are these larger benefits that blockchain can have for society? I would first like to invite Mr. Shrikant Sinha. Mr. Shrikant Sinha, one of our panelists, is the CEO of NASCOM Foundation. Mr. Sunil Agarwal is a leading academic and author on blockchain. He wrote India's first book on Bitcoin called The Bitcoin Magnet. Neha Chaudhary is the public policy lead for TRA Law. She is one of the leading national voices on data privacy and works closely on innovation law in India. The chair of our panel is Ms. Rupa Doraiswamy. Rupa Doraiswamy was one of the past chairs of iTech Law in Bangalore, and she's a leading legal voice. She herself heads a startup in law.
If blockchain has not made real impact right now, wait for 2 or 3 more years, you will feel it. So that's the first thing. But what is fundamentally blockchain? See, when you say nation state is basically a protocol around which you create a community. India is a protocol. Indian nation is a protocol. Pakistan is a protocol. Similarly, when Bitcoin was created, the people behind it started creating a religion around it, and Bitcoin is truly a religion today. Cryptocurrency is a religion today, and that's from where the hodling mindset, the game-changing mindset, the disruptive mindset actually comes.
When internet came, it helped us shorten the distances as well as optimize the effectiveness. Blockchain today, if you look at it, why did blockchain come into existence was when the banks failed, someone in Japan who is supposed to be the father of blockchain came up with a white paper in a couple of days saying that why can't people transact directly with each other without going through an intermediary? And that's where probably we need to start thinking about blockchain instead of anything else. It is meeting the gap of trust and verification. Today, when CSR projects are being run, crores of money, in fact 20,000 crores is what it is expected that CSR funds would be brought to the table in running projects. Today, the biggest challenge that all CSR heads and others have is that how do I know that the money that I spent actually went to the right person? How do I, as a user, when I go out and pick up a carton of milk from the supermarket, understand which are the regions or which all farmers did the thing belong to? Blockchain can provide solutions to all these things.
Essentially, what was the problem that blockchain is trying to solve? We're looking at transparency, we're looking at accountability, we're looking at auditability, we're looking at data security. Is there a way in which technology or technology solutions can be deployed in the data flow ecosystem where there is a way for me to track from point A to point Z who has access to my data? Is my data actually being used for the purpose for which I have said, yes, you can use my data for this purpose? Is my data being shared by a company that I have given data to in the first instance with others downstream?
What we are trying to do basically is to bring in transparency into the farming thing, right from the time the seed is sown till it reaches the customer. Now the question is blockchain affordable to, or is it viable for the agricultural sector?
When incoming was 64 rupees, but today we have 1+ billion mobile subscribers because it is absolutely free, and that's what needs to happen over here also. More people start using blockchains, etc., more use cases will be there, more cheaper it will become.
The evolution of blockchain, which earlier was AKA cryptocurrencies, and then became a byword for cryptocurrencies when kind of Bitcoin hit 18,000 bucks. And then when it came down back to 6 and 5 and 8 or whatever it is this afternoon, then suddenly people said, no, blockchain and Bitcoin are different, right? So it seems to me that our understanding of blockchain tends to fluctuate with the value of Bitcoin. But of course, today I think most of us who've sat in the room would be left in no doubt that actually blockchain is a very useful emerging technology. And blockchain is probably the single best technology available to us today, and as it matures and becomes cheaper and is less hungry for computing power, which I'm sure it will all become, it has the real potential to solve this very fundamental problem.
We are pure technologists. We've spent around 15 years each in deep technology, in extreme auditability, data transparency, data privacy for large organizations like Oracle and Accenture, and regulators like the US FDA through them. So we understand the importance of extreme auditability, and that's our passion. We have 2 patents on data intelligence and data privacy. Why do you need a super identity? Why do you need a blockchain? And why can't I just put Aadhaar on the blockchain? So to simply summarize in 3 points, a traditional blockchain, by virtue of its decentralized nature, makes me as a node share everything I have with every other node. Now, no bank would like to do that. No government would like to do that. So using the super identity and the knowledge that this is the case, we have designed an anonymization layer using which all the participating nodes can talk to each other on a consent basis and selectively share information that is relevant for business and not everything.
We decided to come up with a solution that gives the ownership of the data back to individuals, while still providing all the benefits such as eKYC, document verification, authentication, etc. So there are 3 key stakeholders in our system. There is an issuing authority, like the central government, which collects some demographic biometrics, verifies them and issues the document. There is the user, who is the owner and custodian of the data and gets to decide who accesses their data, what they access, when they access, and also revoke access. And then there is a service provider who can make requests for specific parts of data from the user.
What we proposed was an architecture as well as a solution, which we call it as Registration Seva Kendra, where an user can register an intent of selling it, and the registration can happen in a kind of an ATM kind of place. That's what we proposed.
So our product is called Blots, expands to blockchain for lots of things. So the problems that we're tackling, there are 3 fundamental problems, right? So when it comes to agricultural produce, so there is really no way for you to track the quality of agricultural produce, right? Just by virtue of the fact that it changes multiple hands from the farmer to the end consumer, that special properties of these produce, like the organic nature, is a property that is special to some kinds of produce, right? Farmers who have these special properties need to invest like delta extra money and time into their effort, which is now lost because they don't really get paid for the extra effort that they do, right? So this is like a very fundamental problem, right? Like we have to educate our farmers to figure out better techniques, because in the end it will help them like become more effective and more productive.
Challenge statement that we took was building an incidence-based payment system for the Krishi Protsahan Yojana scheme. This scheme is administered by the Forest Department of the Government of Karnataka. It is meant to incentivize farmers to plant trees on their land, which is an amazing thing. So there are 4 main stakeholders in the entire system. So there's a farmer who requests a nursery, an authorized nursery for seedlings. The nursery then verifies the farmer's land records by checking in with the land record department and essentially releases seedlings back to the farmer. There's a forest department which every subsequent year goes and checks whether the seedlings have survived, and based on the number of survived seedlings, they release a beneficiary list to the treasury, and the treasury releases the payments to the farmer and releases service charges to the nursery.
The first is the Android application for the farmer, which is bare minimum and very simple to use. It is also available in the local language Kannada as well. So all the farmer has to do is he has to just integrate his details into it, like the initial sign up, that would be providing his Aadhaar ID, and then through DigiHacker we get all his other necessary documents. There is something called as Earthcast, which would they provide the satellite images of a particular field, so which was actually fed into an AI machine, which would which is trained to count the number of trees which would be there on the in a particular area. So that is taken care by the AI engine. And then is the blockchain.
So we have worked on the problem of tracking mango across export supply chain. And as a customer, we always feel the problem of when we go to a market, we see that there are so many oranges. And people claim that it's all organic. But we always have a doubt that are they really organic? And people claim that this is from a particular place which is supposed to be good mango. But are these mangoes really from those places? So this is the problem which we are trying to address.
Identity is required wherever you need to identify yourself. So within a business transaction, if you look at it, there are people, there are identity issuing agencies like Aadhaar, PAN card and passport who try to actually verify your identity. And me as an end user want to get identified. Why do I want to get identified? I want to get identified because there are the service providers who give me services by looking at my identity. What we are trying to do is we are trying to enable peer-to-peer transactions using identifiable endpoints.
So we are trying to help farmers to conversate with our system in a very easy way. So as farmer is not a techie guy and it will be not feasible for him to go on the web app and again see his transactions. So what we have built here, so a simple chatbot based solution with the help of which a farmer can just type their queries like whether its request is permitted or not, why it's not permitted, but those kind of queries will be there. So that chatbot will be able to communicate with our blockchain and get the status reports for the farmers.
I would like to really compliment the government of Karnataka for bringing blockchain at this level, talking about it, demystifying it, and helping people understand how blockchain could actually be a differentiator.
I think it's a fantastic initiative, and I definitely wish that very many other governments in the country also take notice.
It was wonderful to win the first prize, and we have spent like 48 hours without sleeping, coding all the time, and each of us has been doing different things, so we collaborated, and it's nice to see that our hard work bore fruit, and we're thankful to the government for this opportunity. We would like to take this forward as a serious idea.